Employees Matter. Hello, fans and friends. Welcome to this week's episode of Great Employees Matter, the podcast that focuses on employee development. We take employees from being average, make them great. We teach employers how to treat their most valuable asset, their employees. We have a great podcast set up for you today. The title of today's podcast is Excelling in a Sea of Diversity. Our guest is a young man named Nick Giaquinto. Nick is somebody that we have known for several months now. We've done some work with him. We had interviewed him, or Kobe had filmed him on another podcast not too long ago. And at that podcast, we said, oh, we need to get Nick onto our show. So we invited him on the show. He said yes. And we're excited about him because he's a little bit of a different guest than what we have. Normally, we bring people that have been in a job for a long time or been an employer for a long time. Nick is unique in that he is just very, very diverse. He has all kinds of interests, and his interests have taken him to lots of different places, including he just got back from a national conference for Best Buddies. It was in Indianapolis, and he was able to go with. He is a national spokesperson for Best Buddies. He's a leader here in town, and he's involved in a lot of different types of podcasts. He runs his own podcasts. We'll learn all about those. And with that, I'm going to have Kobe go ahead and bring us into today's show.
Welcome to Great Employees Matter, where we talk to different people about all kinds of diverse things. Mainly, it is a personal development program disguised as an employee program. So welcome to the show. Check us out every week. Make sure you like, subscribe. Make sure you're sharing the content if you like it. And we're going to get into the guests. So, Mr. Nick, welcome to the show. And how are you, man?
I'm doing okay. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, man, it's great to finally get you on. You were on with our other client, Mr. Jason DeRose from A Guiding Voice. And when we did that show, we was like, we definitely need to get you onto our show.
For sure.
I mean, you're a podcaster, a husband of, you do a lot of philanthropy and a lot of helping around the community. You're part of Best Buddies. So you're an employee also, and you have your own podcast show. So I want to get into a little bit of that. But first, before we go there, tell me, what brings you to Vegas? When did you get to Vegas? What starts you here?
So I got to Vegas in early 2012, and that was my moving point from New Jersey to here, in which I moved in with my she's now my wife, Jessica's family. And they decided to, I decided to get out of Jersey to change my life because things were going south more south than the State of the Union. It was a transition of my life that I had to get used to. I've been out here 4 times for a vacation prior, and I was like, yeah, it won't be so bad moving out to Vegas. This sounds nice. And coming to that was challenging because didn't have a vehicle when I first got out here, needed to find a job and all this other stuff, but at least I had someplace to stay, so that was a plus. And so early 2012, late January, early February, I popped out here, and it's just been a ride ever since then.
Awesome. And so tell me a little bit about your upbringing and, where'd you go to school and how was that experience?
So growing up in New Jersey, I went to school in a school called Washington School. They had K through 8 in the same school, which I know is a little bit different out here because you guys have middle school and elementary. So I associated middle school with elementary because it was all in one. It was all always in one building. And so with that, schooling for me was kind of rough. I've been diagnosed with ADD and ADHD at a very young age, ever since kindergarten, actually, where they gave me a test and I excelled by like 100 points, I think it was, to the point where it was like supposed to be genius levels. And looking back on it, I'm like, I don't know how they came up with that assumption. But it was even better for me because come to high school, that was a little bit rougher, but that's when I got put into special needs classes, which were smaller, more concentrated, focused classes for me. and I graduated high school with a 4.5 grade point average.
Okay, so let's stop there real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you were diagnosed with ADHD and they put you in special needs classes as a result of that?
Actually, in high school, they did.
Okay, and then they put you in special needs classes in high school. Tell me a little bit about that experience. How did your peers treat you in that situation?
It was so the school I went to for that was called Richfield High. I started in Lyndhurst High School, but when I was moving around a little bit, it was a really weird time for me because I went from a technical school, which I flunked out of. It was too difficult. Went to Lyndhurst High for my 9th grade, and then my mom figured out, hey, we found a high school that specializes in special education for you. I'm like, oh, finally, that'd be really cool because I don't know how else I'm going to pass this high school life. And I got into high school at Ridgefield High, and their classes it was, I don't want to put it like this, but it was like an insane asylum down there. So the special needs classes were on the bottom floor. And it was like a multitude of like troubled teens and just whacked out people. It just felt like a cartoon to me most of the time. Funny enough is sophomore year of high school, I made one of my best friends named Charlie. We got into a fight in the middle of the classroom over something. Couldn't tell you what it was over. But then I tried to stone cold stun him in the middle of the classroom by kicking him in the gut and stun him. And we just started getting into it. Next thing you know, we're sent to the principal's office. Comment how crazy the fight was, and then proceeded to invite each other over to hang out the next weekend.
So you got into a fight and you guys became best friends after.
And I'm like, well, that's the New Jersey way, I guess. Like
that's funny. That's funny. I'm not friends with anybody I fought with in high school, but hey, that's a different story. But okay, so jumping into now, you got into podcasting. Did you discover that here, or was that always inside of where what you wanted to do?
So when I found out what podcasting was, because I didn't find out until like way after it had started blowing up. But I used to shoot YouTube videos, like everybody in like, early 2000s and stuff were doing. I was trying to make Vines, and my biggest inspiration was Monty Python's Flying Circus doing sketch comedy. So most of my stuff is like Robot Chicken-esque, really silly goofball stuff, and I love entertainment. I love entertaining. And when I found out, like, hey, we could podcast, that'd be easy for me enough to do since I don't have my old crew out here to make goofball videos with. It's a different life out here, so why not? And starting 2016, 2017, I started coming up with, my first podcasting stuff, and it just wasn't working because I couldn't find the right editing software, couldn't find the right platform. And I think my first podcast episode launched 2019, just before COVID. Okay. And that's when we started filming from there. So after that, it was just essentially finding a reoccurring schedule where I can get my stuff out a little sooner, which now I have going. So
okay. So look, I want to switch gears. I'm going to ask my last question and bridge it over to Jimmy and get into our topic a little bit. Because I could talk to you forever because of your energy and where you come from. But on an employee perspective, from your experience, what makes a great employee in diverse environments?
The will to work. It's the will to work and the will to work within the confines that you have, because I'm not saying like every single employer's environment is terrific to work in, but if you're not willing to put into work to learn, you're just not learning and you're not becoming a good employee. I always have said like the employer's environment is what drives you to be a good employee, but on the subject of that, maybe it's the learning curve of the employer's actual environment, because I've worked as an employee in the start of a company where it was really rough. No one's being cooperative, but then when they start seeing your work, that's when they start treating you a little bit better. So my drive was always to just be good and always give my 100% of that day. So my 100% could be half baked, or it could be like way excelling anything that I've done prior. So it was just like, as long as I was willing to come into work, give it my all, and show them that I was worthy of working there, that's what mattered to me. Is you need to have the will to work, period.
Being put into a certain category like ADHD, I know exactly how that feels. How does that drive you in your everyday working experience when you're out there helping people and doing your podcasts and being at work?
Well, as you know, the H in ADHD is hyper. So I really love giving my energy to everything I do, and that's my driving force. Is I need to be. I'm always thinking several steps ahead. What do I need to do? What needs to be shifted? And I love problem solving. It's one of my most favorite things to do as a person with this ADHD. I'm almost like a modern day Sherlock Holmes. Sometimes it scares me because nobody could figure something out, and then give me like 20 minutes on it and I'll figure out a solution. It's not a permanent solution, but it's a solution that they didn't think of. So me pushing myself to do this, I'm always willing to take on a challenge or in a work environment, no matter what I'm doing, especially if I'm volunteering.
Man, I so understand. You know, I was diagnosed with ADHD at a young age as well, so I understand everything that you're saying. So I'm gonna turn it over to Jimmy. Jimmy, you ready?
You know, I've had the pleasure and good fortune to work with Kobe for a little about a year and a half now, and his ADHD is amazing. It is. You had mentioned it in an earlier conversation that we had, that ADHD can show signs of genius.
Oh yeah.
Right? And so watching Kobe work in this environment where he can do what you do, which is take on tasks, 10 tasks at a time, and handle them all simultaneously with no issue at all. And I have to ask him how to turn on my computer. And it takes him 15 minutes to do it properly. So I commend both of you for that. I'm going to take a little bit of a step back when you talked about your high school. Even though the names are a little bit different, the vision that came to me was, you must be Spicoli in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
It really did feel like a TV show sometimes, because it was like, on today's episode of What the Heck Just Happened, there was, like I said, it was behavioral health issues with most of these kids, and there was some sort of diagnosis among all of them. I couldn't tell you what they were, whether it was behavioral or mental, but like, we had this one time kid of color named Shamar. Don't know what happened. I have no context. I just remember him, you know, he freaked out. He ran down the hall, and then, you know, it was like, well, what the heck are you doing? You know, and they sent some security after him because he was like, you know, like, what the heck are you, like, it was causing trouble. And this kid literally just jumped through the first floor window, because we had it open because it was a little hot in the classrooms. This kid just jumps through the window, saying, "I never left. I don't know what you're talking about." And it's like, do you just cause like an hour worth of panic? Like, what are you doing? Like, chill out. It was the wildest thing. Like, day to day, I didn't know what was going to happen. It was just wild.
Well, you know, I've had the good fortune again of watching you at work. And not at your job at Raising Cane, but I've seen you in a leadership role with Best Buddies. I've seen you work at the care complex where you feed the homeless, and your team is responsible for putting together and distributing the sandwiches or the food for the day, the lunch bags for the day. And I've witnessed you go in and just take absolute control of a group of individuals without being a jerk about it. You're very, very firm. You're very, very committed to what needs to get done, and you have a path. You know exactly how you're going to get it done, and you demand the respect and accountability of the people that work for you to perform. And nobody questions you. They do what you tell them to do. And I can tell that if things were to go south, that you would take immediate control of the situation and there would be no nonsense. So what in your upbringing caused you, a lot of that's innate, right? Sometimes leadership just comes from within. But was there anything in your life that caused you to demonstrably be a good leader?
My father. In all honesty, it was my father, and that was, if you've ever seen a man take control of a situation, it was definitely my dad. And one of the biggest driving forces of my life, God rest his soul, this man was managers of gas stations, clothing stores, shoe stores, you name it. This man could sell water to a fish who was surrounded by it. I've seen him walk. Okay, so we had a group of people at a gas station come in buying all sorts of stuff. They came in for drinks. Like we're talking like this is early 2000s when like cans of soda were $1 and like, you know, you had Reese's cups for like $1.50 and stuff. These guys came in just for a couple of snacks. There was like 6 people, 4 cars, whatever. They left with an extra can of soda and snack a piece, plus 2 quarts of oil a piece, plus windshield washer fluid. Dudes walked out like paying easy like over $100. And I was like, what the heck? And he goes, see, it depends on how you talk to people. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, how would talking persuade anyone to do anything? And I didn't really understand that at the time. It wasn't a concept I had in my head until like I said, high school, sophomore year, and then gaining the gaining and understanding like what that all meant. But my father was, you know, we would set up an event at a church, or we would set up somewhere, and he was like, here's what we need to do, here's the floor plan, this is what needs to get done, and it would just like go off without a hitch. It was smooth as butter and a little rough sometimes, but I mean it would all get set up and there would be no issue. So my leadership style at first came from my father, and then as I grew and progressed through different jobs and areas of expertise, it just grew from there, and that's my basis.
So your father was your primary role model.
Oh yeah.
Did he approach you as your role model, or was he just dad?
Just dad. It was just dad, you know, and it was when I would ask him about certain aspects about how he did things, that was more the role model part of, you know, like, this is how you need to do stuff, not as dad, but as, you know, the manager you're asking. And like, he would tell me like, here, like, I'm going to teach you how to sell a suit. I'm like, okay, you know, and he'd be, you know, the first question was like, well, do you feel comfortable in softer coats, or do you want something that feels like form fitting on you? And that would depend upon like, oh, so you're asking for tweed then, because tweed would be stiffer to like, you know, a cotton coat or something or whatever it was. And that's how he determined what size fit they were looking for. And that was all my leadership skills, was just observing and customer service like that, where I could talk to somebody and then find out what exactly needed to be done.
Well, I can attest that your customer service is exemplary.
Thank you.
Again, I've seen you in action many, many times in many, many different settings. And yeah, you're just a gem. That's why we like having you on the show, or we're excited about getting you on the show. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Lloyd, because he likes taking guests and making them feel very comfortable.
Let's go. I'm ready for this.
Lloyd?
Nick, first off, nobody's ever ready for this, but I thank you for the kind words. Your accomplishments speak for themselves, and you're so impressive as to everything you've done and how you're able not only to continue, but to reach the apex of those things that you put your mind to. And they're self-evident, and I congratulate them for you. However, I like to focus on the failures. And the reason I like to focus on the failures is because I don't think people learn enough from their failures. And so can you just tell us how it is when there's something that you haven't done, how you're able to pick yourself up and get back on the horse again? How do you motivate yourself when you're not feeling it?
I don't think you understand how ready I was for that question. So I'm going to give a quote from Mythbusters, which was a really old TV show focused on science. And that is that failure is always an option. And the one thing that you don't learn from is your successes, because you don't learn anything if it works. you learn something if you failed, and then it works. Because you can, when I failed at something, anything for that matter, it would be a cycle of slight depression for about a day or two, and then recovering, because I would have to remember that, okay, this just didn't work. This just means that you just haven't found the right formula for it. And then the motivation from different leadership quotes from like Red Power Rangers or Leonardo, or different shows where it was just a very charismatic hero, pretty much saying like, if you don't continue with what you're doing and find a formula for it, then you won't ever find a formula for it. So I just had to remember that this is not my last time, and this will continue until I find something that works for me. And that's the way I approach every single failure I've had, is remembering the quote, failure is always an option. And you learn from failing, not from succeeding. And that's something that I firmly believe.
Well, I can't see you failing at anything, so I'm just assuming that you developed that attitude by watching other people fail, because I honestly can't see you failing at anything. So what do you do other than gaming? First off, what's your favorite game? What are we playing these days?
Playing these days? The one thing that I've found comfort in, and especially in challenging, is anything Dark Souls related, or Souls like. But my favorite game of all time is actually Mega Man, which provides plenty of challenge and plenty of opportunity to remember that failure is always an option, because oh man, platforming and running gunning is so difficult on many levels. But the Souls series or Souls like games provide a different type of challenge, because you are always needing to adjust your strategies no matter what you face, and it's absolutely ridiculous how much you have to learn. So I love learning games that have a learning curve for that very purpose.
Now, I got to tell you, the first game I ever played was Pong. And back to my other question, yes, I used to fail a lot at that. So I get it. Are you good at jigsaw puzzles? Do you play them? Legos?
So I do like puzzles of all sorts. I have done jigsaw puzzles. I think the biggest puzzle I've done is 250 pieces, and that was for, I think it was just for a basic garden scene. I think I've done that was with my grandma. I love Sudoku. I love hidden feature games. What's the other puzzle game? It's like pictograms and stuff like that, where you have to realize like how focused you have to be to get the right answers. But puzzle games are some of my favorites to do on paper and even in games. We have a Sherlock Holmes game I played with my wife that almost requires absolute precision in what you need to think of. It's called the Sherlockian, and it's a board game that is, you are literally presented with Sherlock Holmes type notes, nothing else, and you have to figure it out. It is an absolute brain teaser. I think we've spent 1.5 hours on just one case.
Wow.
Just having to try to figure it out. And then we have unsolved case file games, where it's literally like a police dossier based game, where they just give you like a bunch of folders, pictures, background, and you have to read through every single testimony, every single piece, to find the 3 clues that lead to the murderer.
Sounds like you need to be on the payroll.
I'm almost thinking about putting the next one on our podcast just to have you listen to it. It's absolutely fantastic. We do voices and everything for it. It's great. And I love stuff like that. And I'm over here like, if I just didn't make a mistake in my past life, I probably could be a police officer, detective. I would probably love it.
Lloyd?
Yeah, I do have one observation.
Your audio is going in and out, Lloyd.
My observation is that I do believe that games helps us understand stuff. How do you feel about that? What have you
Yeah, it's absolutely true too.
learned
You
from
don't
gaming?
realize what kind of person you are until you either fail at a game. I'll give you a
sorry?
perfect example. Me and
I'm
my
not doing
brother,
anything.
game a lot together, and he's the rage gamer. It's like the slightest inconvenience or failure,
How's this? Is
swear
this better?
curse words, swear of ridiculousness to him, and he just ends up like cursing it out. I'm like,
Kobe?
dude, you have to chill. Like if you don't end up like relaxing, like you're just gonna keep failing. Like just remember the movements you need to make and we'll be fine. And then I fail at a game, I take a deep breath, I'm like, okay, let's go. Like that's the difference. And it's you learn a lot. Like you realize you get muscle reflexes, and chess is a perfect example of this. Like you could play chess thousands of ways. There's literally a book of famous chess matches, and they all start off very similar, but then they take dramatic turns. Chess is one of my favorite games to learn from. I actually am using Duolingo to refresh myself in chess, and I've been relearning a lot. But games are a great teaching tool. Basic Pong. Pong is like one of the best teaching tools because it teaches you reflexes and it teaches you strategy in weird ways. Because you know that if you hit the Pong ball on a certain part of the paddle, it's going to move differently. And that makes all the difference. Mario Brothers, basic Mario Brothers, not Super Mario Brothers, basic, where they're just in the little level beating up people. Like you have to plan where you can put Mario, where's the next enemy coming out, and that helps you defeat the level. But you learn any game that you play, you will learn something, no matter what it is, and it just takes time to learn the strategy of that game.
Great. Kobe?
Yeah. I think that gaming is a learning tool. I love gaming. I haven't been doing much gaming lately because I've been, working a lot, but I do love gaming. I always have. I do play strategy games and first person games and things that make you think and solve problems. So I think that's something that may be something that goes with, our condition.
Right.
To be able to, just get through the day and do stuff. But with that, I want to take it back a little bit and ask you about a little bit more about, you work with Best Buddies and you give a lot back to the community and things like that. And that's actually how we got introduced. We got introduced at the care complex, while you were serving the homeless, which is, to me, it's noble. It's super big. But what would you say to people that are out there having a challenge in life? Like you say, you have your condition and you've been going through life with your condition as if there's no condition at all. How do you teach people that? Because there's a lot of people out there that are similar to us that don't operate as well. What would be your advice for them?
Okay, so my biggest advice to them and to everyone out there that is suffering from a challenge is you just haven't found the right solution. It is a science experiment in socialization. And the science experiment is when you mix an acid and a base, what happens? It just doesn't form the right color or the right basis for what you need. If you combine the right ingredients and the right strategy, you can literally overcome anything. So the basis of that comes from this, is if you've tried something and it doesn't work for you, your next step is to try something else, either similar or in similar thinking. So as an example, if you haven't gotten a job yet and you still haven't, you're either one, your approach to the interview is not correct, or your job set is not the proper one you should be looking at. However, if you've tried everything in this particular field, maybe your next step is being an entrepreneur, making something or giving something to make that step happen. Maybe employment is not right for you. Maybe you need to be a self publishing author, or maybe you need to be the person that makes the next super glue that literally will stick to anything and never break. If you take your own time finding your path, you will succeed. It's just finding that formula that you need to do. And you need to realize there's way more than just 5 steps to success. You need to find the right formula, the right time, the right place, the right means to make it happen.
Hey, man, I think you need a coaching podcast, but we'll talk offline about that. Jimmy, you want to go ahead and start wrapping us up?
Yeah, but I would like to go back on the subject of ADHD. One thing that I know about ADHD is a key word is patience, right? People that you work with and leadership that works with you both have to have patience.
Yes.
So as someone that has dealt with ADHD their entire life, do you identify employees that also have the same condition, and do you treat them not differently, but how do you get the best out of them knowing what challenges they have?
So I don't treat them different. What I do is I sympathize and give them encouragement in the form of either affirmation or advice. I actually have a coworker that is actually on the spectrum, and we became, we started talking more, we started connecting more, and now we're really friendly with each other in the workplace. And I told her, like, it's okay if you're not okay with just chatting up a storm in public. If you're okay with a friend ordering for you, you just make small little steps one day at a time, and that'll be fine. She is an absolute machine, though, in the kitchen prep working. I've seen her sling out 4 prep buckets of sauce and 4 prep buckets of coleslaw without blinking. She is an absolute monster in the best possible way. I cannot move half as fast as she can in any way, shape, or form. I almost think she's run by batteries. Like, oh my God. But I always encourage her, and I always say, good job. I always say, like, you're an absolute beast. I only wish I was only half as fast as you. And it's the upper encouragement. And they'll either, they'll stay or they'll stay, as good as they are, or they'll want to improve. But as long as they're working and as long as they're having the confidence for themselves in the job they're doing, I love it. And so I just keep the affirmations up, and I just keep the positivity up in the workplace for people like that.
Positivity almost always works.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly better than negativity.
Oh yeah.
So this is the portion of our program that we call shameless self-promotion.
Okay.
And we'd like you to feel comfortable promoting whatever you want to about yourself. I know you have product that you sell online. If you want to talk about that, whatever you like, however you like to promote yourself.
Okay. So first off, my podcast is Fabletop RPG. You could find that on Spotify, Overcast, Apple Podcasts. You can go to YouTube and look up Fabletop RPG Group, which I still have to change the name for. I also have a store on what's called fourthwall.com. You look up Fabletop RPG, fourthwall.com. And I also have a Patreon where a simple donation will either allow you a spot on one of our tabletop groups to either make a character, kill off your ex, something fun like that, or even something fun as you want fan art, you want a postcard, all sorts of really cool stuff. And the Patreon will help us still fund with what we want to do and get everyone included in this. So it's some of my favorite stuff I get to do. And also, please check out Pursue the Random Knowledge. It is on Spotify right now. They are live. They are getting up and running. And it is literally about random topics each time and just discussing them. It's random knowledge. So, like, we have an episode coming out It's literally just going to be about if dragons existed in our world now, what would happen? It's going to be absolutely wild when you hear it.
And you're a host on that show.
Yes, I am.
Right.
That show is run by Zach, who is a friend of mine, related to Jason DeRose, and he's a brilliant kid. He's on the spectrum as well, and he's been appreciative with my assistance because I'm making his podcast come to life. So it's been fantastic.
Great. Well, keep up the good work. Thank you for being on our show. We truly appreciate it. I'll let both Lloyd and Kobe have some parting words. Lloyd?
Yeah, I think Lloyd's having a problem, so
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and come in and start. But first, before we go, you know that we always like to acknowledge our sponsors and the sponsors that we have. And the sponsor today is Podcast Excellence Community. In this community, we help each other grow, learn, not just podcasting, but all areas of life. You can come in and get life coaching. You can come in and get training on some of the tools that we use, website development, CRM development. You can come in and network with each other. We just recently had a couple of people keep me pretty busy over the weekend. They met in there, and then both my clients kept me busy all weekend. So it's a great place. Like I said, we do podcast growth, business training, branding and marketing, tools training, networking and community, personal development. We'll be giving away all kinds of prizes as we grow in there. We're going to give away $1,000 when we get to our 1,000th member. We're going to give that to somebody that's in the community.
There you go.
So just come in and engage and enjoy. But that's Podcast Excellence Academy. You can click on the QR code on the screen, or you can go to podcastexcellenceacademy.com and go to community, and then you can come in and join us. And with that, Lloyd is back. Lloyd, you got any last words?
No, I just wanted to tell our guest how much I enjoyed speaking with him and how much of an inspiration he is. This is a guy that doesn't fail.
Nope.
This is this is a guy that puts his mind to it and gets it done.
That's right.
Yeah, I call that that's just being in action, and we love that. So Nick, again, thanks for being on the show with us. We'll have to have you again.
Actually, Kobe, did you know that, remember, I actually interviewed you guys too. You guys are on my podcast too.
Oh, you sure did.
I did.
And you asked me about that. That's the show I missed, isn't it?
Yeah, I put it up. It should have been out like at least for a week or two ago now. But it is the Podcasting Excellence Academy and guiding voice behind the DM screen. And wow. Man, that's already up and running for us.
You gotta make sure we have that link before we go so that we can not only watch it, but we can promote it as well.
Absolutely.
And so we thank you, man. Thank you for coming on the show. Again, everybody, if you're watching, thanks for checking us out. Every week at 2:00, we bring gems, we bring people, tell their stories. Hopefully we learn from each other and grow, and it's all about gems. So greatness, excellence, motivation, always be a gem. Come back and see us next week.
Thank you, everybody.